Hello everybody, thank you for watching my channel, Cedric's Creative Ideas and Fixes, where I show you creative ideas and how to fix different things. So today what we're going to be working on is how to rejuvenate a car battery. Show you how to do that. The process is not that hard, but I'm going to show you how to do it on just a car battery on this video. And if you do like what you see, feel free to subscribe or even hit that like button right down there below. Uh, and just stay tuned for more videos that I put out. And I hope you enjoy the video. Today, what we're working on is a car battery. We're going to try to rejuvenate it because right now it has an issue where I haven't been driving the vehicle. It is dirt cold outside. And well, now it's to the point where it has a charge, but it won't keep the full charge that we need to start the vehicle, which happens to be SUV. This battery came with the vehicle when I brought it used. And it looks like, I don't know what the year is on this one. It says 5-year performance, so I think it's lived this past its life. Normally there's a sticker somewhere on here that says the year that it is recommended to replace or when it's at end of life. This one, I don't see that. But this brand typically is a good brand, from my experience at least. Okay, some of you are probably wondering, why is this battery in a box? Well, the reason why I have it in the box is because, as you just seen, it's easy to slide it across this table. And plus, if I make a mess, hopefully to soak some of that up. But I don't plan on making a mess. All right, so for this battery, since it does not have the two knobs on top, I'm going to have to put these posts on the actual side here. What's this one? Positive. So we'll put this on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually test the battery to see what we're looking at as a starting voltage before we even rejuvenate this battery. And from my experience, there's two ways that I have done this process and actually have worked. You can either use Epsom salt, which is like a white powdery substance, or you could use distilled water. Now, whichever method you do, either one works, but don't do both methods. I did that and it did not take too well on the battery. So just learn from me. Don't do both of them. Just use one or the other. So, and how you use that is right here. We're going to pop these tops off, and then there's going to be some holes in here, which you'll see. I'm going to show you, and then that's where you sprinkle the Epsom salt in there, or you put the distilled water in there. And the reason why we use distilled water instead of regular water is because the distilled water does not have all that chemical stuff and whatever else is in there for us to drink. It's just pure, straight, filtered water that doesn't have that stuff in there. I can't think of the technical name for it. I can't think of that right now. But yeah, so if you taste distilled water, it's going to taste really bland, and that's why, because there's nothing in it. All right, so let me go ahead and get this started here. All right, and since I'm holding the camera and trying to do this at the same time, I think this is going to be a little bit difficult for me. So I'm going to just skip to getting this connected, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I am back, and as you see, I got these connected. Not the best way, but it gets the job done. And right now we're looking at 11.8586 volts. I guess apparently my vehicle, it does not want to start with that. Plus, I don't know what the code of cranking amps is. So that's another thing I need to find out. But we're not going to worry about that. We're going to skip all that right now because I already know the battery is going bad. Since it does hold a charge, but not the full charge once it's been driven for a while and sitting idling. So I'm going to go ahead and get the distilled water, and I will show you how to get this started. Okay, now that I got my water, distilled water. Actually, let me show you what I have here. This is the distilled water. I've been calling it distilled water, but as we see here, it's actually distilled water. So that's my fault, folks. I guess it all sounds the same when you're talking versus what you're reading. Okay, so with the distilled water, what we're going to do is, that's what's going to go right in here. But before I even do that, my battery's filthy. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this battery up. And then we'll get started on doing that. I'll clean this up in a matter of 2 seconds. Watch. Voila! See, look at that. Told you. In a matter of 2 seconds, I have this cleaned up. I work magic. For those of you who never brought distilled water before, you can actually buy this water at a lot of places. Dollar store, grocery store, quite a few places sell it. Target, Walmart, Dollar General, Family Dollar. Uh, there's so many places. And it doesn't even cost that much. This here is about a dollar. So it's inexpensive. It's easier to get than the Epsom salt. I'll tell you that one. All right, so now that my battery is cleaned up, now we can go ahead and get started. And actually, before I even pop the caps off, I'm going to show you what I'm going to use this time. It's, like I said, I'm going to be clean. I'm not going to get anything dirty. Clean. I was serious about that. I'm not trying to make a mess. All right, so I'm going to use this. Normally, I do not use a syringe. For obvious reasons, this thing is not that long, so I can only get so much out of there. But normally, I like to pour this into the actual battery itself, which can get messy. But if you have some funnels, you can actually use a funnel and pour the liquid in there. So let's go ahead and get started here. I got a nice big old flathead screwdriver. That way I make sure I'll get this off and I won't struggle as much. You don't have to use a screwdriver quite as beefy as what I'm using, but that's what I chose to use. So let me go move this battery closer here. All right. And for most batteries, see here how there's a little there's a little notch right there. This notch right here is actually meant so that you can put your screwdriver in there and pop these off, at least for this brand. I can't tell you about other brands. And then that's what it looks like underneath. I'm going to try not to touch this because that's supposed to be the battery acid. And in fact, let me grab a paper towel or a napkin. Yeah, they're stuck together. There we go. That way I can keep my fingers clean. For those who have never done this before, I highly recommend you wear gloves. But I've done this quite a few times, so I know what to expect. Okay, that won't come off. Let me... There we go. Alright, so we're just going to lay this here. And as we'll see, we've got some more dirt in here. I'm going to eventually clean this up because I don't like that sitting there, and I definitely don't want that to get inside. But if you look closely, let's see here, you can see the fluid that's actually in the cavities of the battery, which is where the poles are at. There should be poles going in between here, 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 and here. And that's how it separates the different fluid. Of course, it all goes throughout the whole battery, but that's, in a summary, helps you out with how the battery kind of works. But looking at this battery, it looks fine. All the fluid levels look even. So this battery should be fine, but usually if there's a battery that needs some kind of TLC done to it, you can tell by just looking in one of these here, and if the fluid's lower than the rest of them, you just level it out. But you don't want to fill it all the way up to the very top. That's not good for the battery, and you won't have the best results if you fill it all the way to the top. Batteries need to breathe, and so on here, let's see. Right, there you go. See that little notch? Yeah, that's so the battery can breathe. And just like I was showing you on that little notch is so it can breathe. And so these batteries need to breathe. And let's say you're charging and you overcharge it, the fluid's going to come out of that little breathing hole. So on this battery, it's on top, and on some batteries, the little breather hole is actually on the side. That way, if it does overcharge, it'll spill out the side. But anyways, on this battery, there's not much I'm really going to do to it. I'm just going to add a little bit of distilled water in it, and I'm just going to charge it up, and we're going to call it good. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up here, and then I'll show you how to get this done. See, like that. Clean again. See, I do quick jobs. All right, so now that I got that clean, let's go ahead and open up our distilled water here. See, I keep saying distilled, it's distilled water. See, I can't help it. I just can't help it. All right. And let's get my syringe ready. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to even out the holes here. They look pretty even already, so I'm not going to do too much to this battery. It's not as bad as what I thought it was, but I still want it to be better than what it is now, because it is cold out there and I use my vehicle. Get all that air out. Alright, so we got the distilled water. Let's see here. And this syringe locks up on me. There we go. I haven't figured out how to take off that locking plate for the syringe. I think I've only used this thing only twice in my life anyways. Oh, come on. There we go. Alright, I made a little bit of mess, but I can clean that up. Alright, I'm just checking the levels, make sure my levels are right. Trying to watch the levels and do the camera at the same time makes it a little bit more difficult. Okay, that one I think I did that a little too high, but I'm not going to suck it out because that's already got the acid on it, and I definitely don't want to get acid in my syringe. And just think, you can rejuvenate your battery for about $1 instead of paying $100 for a new battery, or even $50 for a used battery. Okay, let's see where we at on this hole. And normally this process I'll have done by now, but like I said, I'm using a syringe, which locks on me, which is taking longer because I have to keep adjusting this right here, which is a pain in the butt. Okay, I think I see where the issue might have been. It might have been this one right here, because this one looks lower. Once I start pouring the water in there, I'm sorry, not water, the distilled water, let me be very specific, the distilled water, I can see it's a little lower than some of the other ones. Alright, now I'm just checking it over, doing my little eye inspection. Alright, I'm just shaking it to see if everything looks level to the naked eye. Alright, put a little bit more in there and then we're done. There we go. I'll put the rest of this back in there. Alright. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to wipe this off before I put the caps back on it. Alright, so now Uh-oh, get that off there. And let me put this cap back on. There we go. All right, so there's that. Also, if you have like a water bottle like so, you can take the cap off and just squirt it in. But I can't use this one because the cap broke on me. So it'll pop off as soon as I start pouring water. Or I can just leave it off, but I don't like doing that. I like my cap to stay intact in case I have to close it real quick. But yeah, otherwise you can pour these into each spout. But keep in mind, it's going to be easier to make a mess with this because more of the liquid will come out. In this case, distilled water. I keep saying water, but see, just like right now, I already dripped some stuff. See? Yeah. That's because my lid is broke. So, anyways. Alright, so there you go, folks. That's how you do it. It's real simple, real easy. And this should only take you about, not even 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes max to do. And so now that we got that done, now it's time to put this on the charger. And I'm just going to let this sit on the charger. And I'm going to go ahead and skip past however many hours it takes to charge this battery. And then we will come back, test this battery, and see what we're looking at. But normally whenever you put the distilled water inside the battery, just make sure you shake it a bit. And then just go ahead and charge it because you want to make sure the distilled water mixes with the acid. That way when it charges, everything charges just swiftly. Alright, so I will be back, folks. I'm going to go ahead and put it down here on the charger and just let it do its thing. So down here are some batteries I have from multiple vehicles. This one I did not do the rejuvenation process on when I took it out of the vehicle. It was working great. I used this battery on a car, and it not only was powering the car, but it was also powering my audio system with bass bumping and everything. So I didn't bother worrying about it. But like, I don't know, 3 years later, it no longer is useful. And I don't know what's positive and what's negative, but we're just gonna disconnect. We're just gonna connect it and see what happens. That way I can show you. See if I can do it with one hand. What I mean by that, if you don't use the batteries, they tend to go bad. Or if you don't do anything to them to make them better, then well, they can go bad too if you don't use them at all. Alright, so right now it's looking at about 5 volts. Now at this point, if it's 5 volts, it's pretty much shot. Even if I try to rejuvenate it, it's not going to be enough to pull the battery back to life. So this one's pretty much at a loss. I'll have to recycle it later with the rest of my batteries here to be recycled. Alright, and then this one here goes to one of my other vehicles, which you'll probably see in one of my other vehicles. I mean, not vehicles, one of my other videos. In fact, when I mentioned about the date, this one here says January 15th. And well, it's plenty past that date. We're in 2022, and this battery still works. And the reason why this battery still works is because one, the vehicle I started up maybe 3-4 times a year. I may not drive it, but at least I try to start it. But this year I didn't really have that opportunity because of fuel pump going bad and then the alternator going bad, so it pretty much sat in the sun baking. But this is one of the batteries I did do the rejuvenation process on, which is why we extended the date on here for so much. And as a result, I didn't have to replace the battery. So let me go ahead and see what the voltage is on this one. Let's see here if I can make that reach. And my arm's in the way. Okay, so let me move this. There we go. Sorry, folks, for the bad camera angles. I'm trying to do this with one hand. It's easier when you have a camera crew or a helper. Or even something to prop the camera. Alright, let's see if I can get this to reach. There we go. Alright, so I got that connected. What's the voltage on this? Oh, come on, it keeps moving. Okay, let's do this, move this. Alright, so this one's at 12.45 volts. Of course, I didn't check for polarity. My negative's on the positive and my positive's on the negative pole, which is why it's negative. Other than that, we got 12.45 volts. So yes, that battery's still good to go. And now this battery here you see, this one is also the same battery that I had in the vehicle of the battery we're going to restore. This one I This one I rejuvenated multiple times. I think probably twice or 3 times. And as you can see, it's got some stuff on the side. It's kind of moist. But that's because when the battery sits in the vehicle, it sits sideways. Instead of straight, it's a little tilted because the battery's too big for the tray. Because I put 2 batteries in the vehicle, and this battery's just too big for that vehicle, for the tray. Other than that, this one works fine. And this one, I don't know where the date's at, but this one I think has a date on it as well. I can't find it, but no big deal. Yeah, it's not here. But anyway, so what you see here is I have a charger on here on this battery. It's like a slow charger. And also it tests the battery, make sure it's good or bad. And it also, when it does the charging, see if you can read this here. It also defaultates the battery, which means it also goes in there and it will send pulses to the battery for the poles that's in the battery to get some of the cloudy stuff off the poles. I don't know the technical name for that, but I'm just going to call it cloudy stuff. For some of you who know a little bit more about battery and acid, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But that pretty much is the buildup that happens when you leave the battery in a vehicle and it sits and it's not fully charged. And over time that builds up and it causes the battery to not hold its charge as high as it was when you brought the battery. So what that is doing, it slowly knocks that stuff off. The longer you let it sit, the better. But I think my charger, it's kind of going bad because it never says when the battery's full anymore. And on this battery, it got really hot, so I just disconnected it. All right, so enough about the background about batteries and stuff like that. It looks like the battery's done charging. I know earlier I said I think my charger is going bad, but it looks like it's working just fine. It showed me that the battery's charged and it's acting like it should. So now I'm going to check it for voltage and show you guys what results we're going to get on that. Okay, so it looks like I may have put too much fluid in the battery, which is the exact thing I told you guys not to do when you're doing this, and I did it myself. So, well, it looks like the battery did overcharge a little bit, so we got a little bit of a extra fluid on the battery, so you'll see that here. All right, so here's the battery, and as you see, got a little bit of stuff that kind of came out. I told you guys I wasn't gonna be messy, but dang, I tried real hard. Oh well, guess that's what happens when you're on a camera and doing it and not paying attention too well. But anyways, here's the current voltage with this still hooked up to the charger. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect this because it's time to put this in the vehicle. So like I said, it should be at a fully charged state. Let me get these on here. 1 second. Okay, so all right, so we're sitting at 13.9 volts. So yes, this process did work. It's sitting better than what it was before, and as you see earlier, it was like 11 point something volts. I think 11.83 volts if I'm not mistaken, and now we're up to 13.8 volts. So yes, this process definitely improved the battery. So now I should be able to start my vehicle and be on about my business. Thank you for watching, everybody. If you liked the video, hit that like button down below. Please go ahead and watch some of the other videos I produced. And just share and comment. Thank you. Have a good day, folks.